We know that DC Studios has a 10-year plan. This, of course, was teased by Peter Safran, James Gunn, and the man behind everything, WB Discovery, David Zaslav. They've told us multiple times we're going to announce what the 10-year plan is, and they never do, leading to false expectations and disappointment. But now James Gunn says, yes, we have plans that are significantly further than Man of Tomorrow, and a brand new report has shed light on what we can expect. So I think it's pretty crystal clear that Man of Tomorrow is sort of like the first Avengers, if you will, for the DC universe. Now, I don't mean that it's on that same scope, size, and scale, but what I mean is that I think this is like the first time that they want to unite different corners and all these projects that they're working on in this one film. Because if you look at the MCU, you of course had Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, Thor, and Captain America the First Avenger. Largely all standalone films with very little crossover, if any, besides quick mentions and Easter eggs, but then the Avengers happens and that's the big crossover. I think that the build-up to Man of Tomorrow is essentially the same thing, where in Man of Tomorrow, if you guys remember, James Gunn said that this is the next chapter of the super family, that this is going to be Superman, the Justice Gang, Lex, Supergirl, all of them teaming up against the big threat, which all signs point to it being Brainiac. Now, beyond that, what comes next? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about, because James Gunn has been taking part in multiple interviews the last couple of days, and really weeks, hyping up what comes next. And one thing he revealed was that despite what we have been told publicly, and how the end of the line is very close by, aka the last project we know that they're working on that's officially dated is Man of Tomorrow, less than 2 years away, plans go significantly further than that, and now we apparently know what those plans are. So as most of you know, James Gunn has been teasing, as well as the other studio execs and head of WB, that there is a 10-year plan, and recently we found out that there really is. Of course, things can change, but there's still many projects that are in development that were announced, on top of new ones that they're not ready to announce just yet. So looking at everything we obviously know that after Man of Tomorrow, it's sort of a evolving, fluid release schedule. We know for a fact that a Wonder Woman reboot is top priority, and reports previously suggested a 2027 release date, which, if they were to do that, would need to start shooting by fall of next year to be able to release within a year. So more than likely, late 27 or 28. Along with that, we of course have Batman Brave and the Bold. James Gunn has repeatedly said it is not going to take as long as 2030 or 2031, so by 2029. But again, they're not just going to do one film a year, because they seem to be doing two in the future. So then we of course have things like Sergeant Rock, which is still happening. We of course got the development of Swamp Thing, which is in constant limbo. But recent comments have suggested that new projects have joined the slate. And if you guys remember, I just did a video on it about the trademark for Salvation. It looks like the end goal, or at least one end goal, is to do Justice League Salvation. So I will make sure that that video is linked so you guys can get a full explanation of what that would be. But also, if you guys remember, just recently, James Gunn teased that we would see a character like the Flash appear elsewhere before a standalone project. My guess is that they're going to treat the Flash the same way that Marvel Studios treated Black Panther, which is drop the character in a project and see the reception, and if there is enough interest, and we know what we could do. And honestly, I could see that becoming something like a film or even a TV series, which would make sense. We also know that there is movement on Teen Titans, and they've teased Martian Manhunter. And we know that James Gunn has confirmed openly that this big project that they are working on is so big that he does not want to talk about what it is because he's afraid of not just Marvel, but another studio using this concept. Now, again, we don't really have any idea in terms of what this might be and what the big crossover idea is and what they're pulling for, but it's safe to say that it's probably their big blow-off project, which may or may not right now be Justice League Salvation. Now, people also seem to be ignoring the fact that many of these films will get sequels, like a sequel to Brave and the Bold, probably another Superman sequel that's a direct sequel if Supergirl is big enough, that project, and they tease spin-offs like Lobo potentially happening, along with teases that characters like Arrow might just become either a TV series or a film, which I think TV series is probably a given for Green Arrow, as it's already been proven and can be done on the cheap. Which brings us to what comes next by the end of the decade and whatever Salvation might be. So what's James Gunn's future and what is Salvation? Well, these two things I think go hand in hand. Justice League possibly being Salvation makes sense because that seems to be what they're setting up. But at the same time, we really got to think about the James Gunn situation and what's going on with WB, especially them selling. And I think that that's the big factor here because plans could change. Plans always change after acquisitions. Now, truth be told, with how good the DC Universe is doing right now, I think many of these plans will hold steady and they're not going to change that much, even after a purchase. But I think you got to really look at what they're trademarking and what's happening, such as Salvation, to understand that they're still committed to these plans and they want them to happen. So you look at the bigger picture here, James Gunn's future, what's going on, what could happen, the foundation and groundwork that they're laying out in front of them to whatever happens in the future, that they want this to be essentially ready to either be handed over or to continue under Gunn and Safran, who will continue even after a potential purchase or when it does happen. So I think we really are looking at a scenario where things are just sort of, we're moving forward, we have a slate, internally we know what it is, we know the end goal, and we're going to get there. But how we get there is evolving and flowing in different directions. And I think that way, they're going to do something that takes a little bit longer to get to that big old crossover, but they're going to make sure that tons of pieces are in play just in case something goes wrong that they can pivot. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.